it probably has to do with having patience and recognize that your career is going to be a lot dependent on how you establish your relationships, because even though you may be a very strong competence in a specialized area, and you might even have a lot of proof of that, it still turns out that in an organizational context, it's just like living in a tribal community, that it becomes a question of to what degree are you successful in making other people willing to support you. And that is frequently a real challenge, because we are frequently impatient, and we think that, you know, if the world is rational, they should recognize what we are capable of. But of course, it's always a question of whose rationality do you want to govern, and so it's within that context that relationships really become very, very important. I remember Bo, when he was working for a scientifically oriented organization, and he himself as a senior scientist, and he said, "Dad, there's no science here, it's all politics." And you know, that's again, the relationships have to be there, and you are not going to be able to do it by yourself. This is what you also have to recognize, that you will depend on others willing to be supportive of you.
So you've been a student and met a lot of students and had contact with a lot of students. What stands out as an impressive quality, or what really shows you that the student will succeed in the workforce? I mean, it's probably not having a 4.0 GPA or doing 100% in all their classes.
Yeah. Well, I'm very prejudiced for the 4.0. And so I think it is worthwhile to strive to reach the sun, and even if you miss it, you may in effect have still done better than you would have by just keeping your goals, your aspirations too low. And so I feel that whatever is worth doing well, and therefore you should try to do your best. And then unfortunately, of course, the environment should be willing to say thank you when you do your best, and that is frequently forgotten. We live in sort of a parsimonious society, and as a result you sort of feel like, you know, you're not valued as you perhaps would have hoped for. But I think that this notion of doing your best, being responsible so that you can be counted on to deliver, this is the type of people that are really needed everywhere, and will in effect open up opportunities that you just never would have thought of. And I have found it just really, as I said, this whole notion of how students are able to do things, and you sort of somehow at times kind of think that, gee, you know, he or she is just 17 or 18 or 19. But you know, that actually is already you know, quite a ways on your path, so to speak. And I remember at one time in one of my consulting assignments, my contact person was saying, but he is really very young for that appointment. Then I thought from what he said. Of course, I was only 19 when I was flying bombers over Berlin. And so, in some sense, we are late in perhaps at times delegating enough early enough, because, you know, we kind of feel like parents. I had a call from Bo, and I thought he needed some advice, so I gave him some advice, and he said, "Dad, I'm 52. Oh, okay. So, you know, in your parents' eyes, you just will never grow up, you know. And I think this is what sometimes happens in the employers' views too, you know, that they look at people around them and, you know, if they would be any good, what would they all be? They'd all be CEOs. They are not. So they are not good enough. How can I therefore delegate to them to do an important job where I know what needs to be done, how it should be done, what the results should be? Okay, so what do I have available? Okay, here is Molly, you know, okay. I'll take a chance on her, but I'm going to watch everything she does. So it's the world is already a little late in recognizing, you know, the potential contributions, the talents that are available, the work that can be done. And this is where ISEC provides an opportunity. Just as I always used to start my class by asking, now, how many of you are members of an interest organization in the business school? No, there's the finance association, the marketing and so on. My next question is, how many of you have an officership in those organizations? And then I ask, how many of you are active in the Associated Students organization? How many of you have an officership? And we rarely have a business student that shows up in ASUW. So then how can they do without you? You know, think of the business student, what he or she is supposed to be contributing in terms of managing, in terms of budgeting, in terms of finance, relationships, achieving plans. No business students there. And it's such an inexpensive way of gaining really good experience and get on your resume something that you actually did. So here we see the biologist. I was an ISEC finance person.
Yes.
So, do you have any more questions, you guys?
For me?
I just realized we never at the beginning had any kind of introduction, and I want to end up like making like a short video with like, so if you just want to say like, hi, and I do this, and
okay. Well, hi all of you. I am Bud Saxberg, or actually I am Börje Saxberg, and I am originally from Finland, a Swedish-speaking Finn, given the two official languages, and I am a professor of management and organization at the Foster School of Business at University of Washington. I actually recently retired, and I'm trying to get used to that. And might add that I have been teaching here at University of Washington for 52 years in the areas of management and organization.
Cool.
Another thing that we've been working on is we're trying to win the bid to host a national conference on the West Coast. They're always on the East Coast because that's where all the other chapters are. But we're trying to put in a bid to win that. So we were wondering if you, as an alumni or as a former ISEC or as an active ISECer for that matter, would be interested in coming to it if and only if it was on the West Coast.
Well, yeah, you could count on me if I'm here and not in Norway.
Sure.
What is sort of the dates that you have in mind?
We're putting it in right now for next December. But we'll see if that either goes through, otherwise next summer. So
Okay.
a summer now, a year and a half.
Well, I think that would be a terrific thing to do. Now, my hope would be, do you know anybody who would be putting on to preserving the historical records? And if you would go into that, you would find that there are some really interesting records of organizations that have put together just those kinds of seminars or conferences of varying degree of importance, and therefore could provide you with some some ammunition for.
Yeah, Molly and I are going to a national conference over winter break in Albuquerque. So we would definitely find people.
You're gonna bring that box with you.
Find people who wanted to archive that and help preserve history. I know people are working on it, but it's hard since it's so, like the country is so big and so many things have happened all over the place. But
well, and this is of course basically the record of Seattle. So it's a Seattle archive, and then where I have been to a couple of the organizational conferences arranged by the New York office for purposes of meetings, so to speak, the businessmen and so on. But I'd like somebody to take that box.
We definitely will.
we will take that box.
We will take it off your hands.
You'll have now another 1.5 square feet for extra use in your office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I need. And my thought is that actually, given the interest that Lily Hine has had over the years, that she could be somebody who has space in her basement.
Yeah.
With the number of alumni that are probably listed in there that she's never heard of, she would love to. See that.
There's some great news with Lily and Arthur. They are adopting a child from China.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special. My God.
Lily's resigning from
6 months.
Ah.
Wow.
It's like life, yeah.
A little boy that was born last January.
Oh my gosh.
Huh.
That's going to change their life completely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting though for them.
Yeah.
And then given, in particular, her particular interest to have a little boy from China kind of seems like a good fit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's her.
I have one of my colleagues, his daughter adopted a girl from China and just loved, period. Little kids are. And actually the memory, and your parents are likely to have their best memories from the time when you were the little guy hanging over the shoulder. And then as you grow, you become sassier and more sentimental, and it isn't any longer as nice. You know.
All right, I'm gonna cut it off.